Thank you, Asma. Jazakallah khair. So now we will hear from Syed Mehdi Ashraf, who is a structural engineer. He also holds a master's degree in Islamic studies from the Islamic College of Advanced Studies in London. And currently he's attending the graduate school at Al Mustafa University in Qom, pursuing a master's degree in Quranic studies. Engineers, a Miami 35 licenses and certificates in various fields of civil engineering. He's also authored 2 books and is an adjunct professor at the Department of Civil Engineering at Florida International University.
And youngsters.
And and he is fond of mentoring youngsters for growth and progress, and that is his passion. So with that, I will turn it over to you, Brother Ashraf.
Brothers and sisters, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. It's my pleasure to come and speak to the youngsters and to everybody and share my thoughts, my experience on 2 topics or connected topics which Tughul Bhai has assigned me: self-motivation and the power of intention. I attempted to define self-motivation and intention, and in the simplest terms, intention is the establishment of goals. What goals you have in your life, and you establish them. And self-motivation is a force that drives you to achieve those established goals, that drives you to do things, that drives you to achieve your personal fulfillment. Now, I've spoken this several times in the past, and a technical definition of the arrival to self-motivation could be intrinsic or extrinsic. Now, extrinsic motivation, which is generally prevailing, which prevails among majority of us, it rewards the physical aspects of a person: money, power, fame, recognition. These are all the physical motivation. And then the intrinsic motivation, it rewards the soul. But however, I believe, with my personal experience, that intrinsic motivation would lead you towards excellence. And if a person is motivated towards excellence, then all the physical gains follow as a byproduct. And on the other hand, if a person is motivated for money, fame, position, recognition, then the person remains a mediocre. Let me give you an example of our ex-president of India, Dr. Abdul Kalam, who was a great scientist, and he used to go to schools, and always, invariably, he used to tell the young students in schools to dream, 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 and chase your dreams. Now, you dream, you establish your dream, and then you make attempts to fulfill your dreams with your focus, with your attention, with your dedication. Now, you're running towards your intents, you're chasing your dreams, and you have a probability of winning, or you have a probability of losing. But if you do not dream, if you don't have established goals, then you don't have a probability of losing. You are definitely a loser, definitely a loser. And the ex Prime Minister of Pakistan, Imran Khan, I've heard a lot of his talk shows. He used to come to India a lot, and his talk shows were so inspiring. And he used to say that whenever he was defeated, he never used to get bogged down. He used to think, and then he believed that his failure would be the first step towards his success. And failure, it teaches you, it makes you more mature. You learn to handle adverse situations. You develop the drive inside you to succeed, the initiative, the commitment, the optimism, focus, dedication. I mean, all these qualities, they get enhanced in you, and in the bargain, your emotional intelligence is getting enhanced, and that is very important. I mean, your intellectual level becoming stronger, and then you strive for excellence. Now, I would like, I don't want to point out to anybody. I would like to take my example. I would like to take my example as a Muslim. And I grew up in an exclusively Muslim neighborhood in Hyderabad, and there were about 1,000 houses at least in that neighborhood, and probably 10 to 15 houses were people of other faith like Hindus. Mostly they were Muslims, and in our country, like in Pakistan, we have a matriculation exam, and it is a common examination for conducted by the state, and say 50 to 60 or 75 students appearing for that exam from that Muslim neighborhood, and the passing grade used to be 35 on a scale of 100. And believe me, not more than 4 or 5 used to pass the exam, and 35 on 100, and only 4 or 5 used to pass the exam. And even I went to a very good school, Little Flower, but I never had any set goals. I was never in the competition in that school, and my only goal was, oh, I need to get accepted in an engineering school. Now, by Allah's grace, I got accepted in a very good engineering school, the NIT, National Institute of Technology, Warangal. It is highly ranked in India. And when I went there, my only goal was to get a first division. That's it. I was never in competition. And so that was the mentality. That was the mentality I had, and it is just not me. It is the social setup of most of the Muslims, of the majority of the Muslims throughout the world. And I have evidences to back my argument. And for example, only two Muslims have been able to get a Nobel Prize in sciences. I was thinking about a story, just a fiction. We have scientists and our astronomers trying to explore other spaces, other planets. We've been to the moon in the 60s, and we have sent spaceships and satellites in the space. So the authority in the planet Mars, they planned to send a group of anthropologists to the Earth and research about the occupants of the Earth, to study their cultural and social evolution. And now it's all fictitious, as you can imagine. And they scheduled a program at the end of every millennium. So the first expedition took place at the end of the first millennium. So the anthropologists came, they conducted the research on the Earth, and they went back to Mars and they reported to their authorities. And they said, we've been around the Earth and we saw the most progressive society lived in a vast region, and their capital was Baghdad. And these people were called Muslims. And they had a major learning center in Baghdad called Baitul Hikmah, the House of Wisdom. And these people, they had astronomical observation centers where they conducted research about planets and stars and space. And these people had hospitals, schools, research centers in almost every field of science. They did translations. There were philosophers among them, and people of various professions. And it seems about 300 years prior to their expedition at the end of the first millennium, a man named Muhammad had come, who taught them about the unity of God, who gave them the concept of justice, freedom, compassion. And he, in a very short period of time, got a revolution among them, which changed the course of history of the Earth. And the anthropologists of Mars also reported that there was a place called Europe. And they found that there were witch-burning popes there. There were barbaric people, who were retrogrades. And they were lords of those people, learning calligraphy, of how to write their names, while the Muslims, this community Muslims, were doing space research. So that was such a big difference between these two set of people living on the Earth. Now, 1,000 years go by, and as scheduled, the next set of researchers from Mars came back to the Earth to continue with their research. And they were shocked. I mean, to the dismay, the situation had reversed completely. The most progressive society of the first millennium had been trapped in medievalism, rejecting new concepts. And they, the Muslims, they were hung to their depleted past. And on the other hand, Europe had a new associate called America, and together they made advances by leaps and bounds. Now, this would make you think, why? Why did this happen? Yes, at the beginning of last millennium, there were crusades, and but the Muslims resisted it. It was not that the Muslims were decimated due to the crusades. They suffered a lot of damage, but still the Muslims resisted it. But there were a lot of infightings had started, and then Halagu Khan came and he destroyed the Abbasis, who were vastly consolidated Muslim rules, and that consolidated Muslim rule had disintegrated. Yes, there were Umayyads ruling in Spain, but the consolidated Muslim rules was in the hands of Abbasis, and then there were a lot of factions when this millennium, the second millennium, had started. then it led to the medieval period of the second millennium, and there were three major rules: the Ottoman, the Persians, and later the Muslims, especially the Mughals in India. And on the other hand, Europeans had Renaissance. They had scientific revolutions, they had industrial revolution, and all of this led towards modernism. Now, historically, and Muslims will bear witness to this history, that scientific development and progress of a society is indivisibly linked. Indivisibly linked. But let's all of us think now, the torchbearers of Islam have forgotten that the Islamic faith and the science of the natural world, they complement each other. They have completely forgotten. They have divided metaphysics and physics. The metaphysics is based on faith and divinity, and falling under the realm of religion. And physics, by physics I mean the entire sciences of the physical world. I mean, biology or botany or physics, chemistry, mathematics, engineering, computer sciences, everything. Let's call that physics, and which is based upon reason and empirical inquiry. And the torchbearers of Islam, who can give fatwas in a minute and can assign people to go to heaven and hell, because they have the knowledge of the unseen. And these people, they have just separated metaphysics and physics. Science is a secular pursuit, I agree, but scientists are free to be as religious as possible, as demonstrated in the history of the Muslims. Like you take Ibn Sina, Avicenna. At less than age of 10, he was a Hafiz al-Quran, and by the time he was 16, he had the complete medical sciences which existed at that time. And later he became a philosopher. And or you take Nasiruddin Tusi, who was an Islamic scholar, but he was a great scientist. Now, science has transformed the entire human civilization. Military strength, political power, economic prosperities are contingent upon scientific development, and the Muslim race, the Muslim community bear evidence to that. I mean, history has shown that the Muslims had subjugated Europe because they're powerful in science, and ruled over Spain for about 7 centuries. And what happened during that process? Europeans learned from the Muslims, and the Muslims became very complacent. The arrogance of Ottoman, I mean, I've read so many things that they were so arrogant towards the Europeans in the last century, and the centuries long battles between the Ottoman and the Persians. And then if you come towards this side, the educationally feeble, it's completely feeble Muslim rule of India. I mean, they constructed Taj Mahal and a lot of buildings and Qutub Minar and mosque and all. Show me one world-class university the Mughals constructed in India. And very late, Sir Syed was instrumental in Muhammadan College, which became the Aligarh Muslim University, and then Nizam with the Osmania University. Otherwise, show me in that 500, 600 years, 700 years, they had been there. Even when the Britishers were there, they were ruling, and not even one university did they construct. And these are some of the causes of, or these are the majority of the causes of the decline of the Muslim or Islamic civilization. Now, Alhamdulillah, all of us sitting over here, we love our Prophet. One man who revolutionized the Arab world and got the entire Arabian Peninsula under the banner of Islam in a very short period of 23 years, and he changed the course of the world history. And today we are approximately 1.8 billion in this world, and it was such a short. Uh, I mean, his revolution was so remarkable in a very short period, and within few years, I would say 100 years to 150 years after the Prophet's death, the golden age of Islam began. But after the 13th century, it started declining, and since the 13th century, for the past 700 years, it has been a steady decline. Yes, we have had a lot of good philosophers uh, uh, like Allama Iqbal or Muhammad Abdu or Afghani, and there have been people who have come, but they were not able to have such a big impact that the Muslim civilization had a drastic change among themselves. And of course, the Prophet did. I mean, we are the lovers of Prophet, and we need to emulate him. Yes, he was divinely guided, but it was also his perseverance. The Prophet was a very hardworking person. Now, my first mistake, I read Quran in Arabic, but I did not learn Arabic. Never tried to understand the meaning, and most of us, especially the non-Arabic speaking Muslims, most of us do not understand Arabic, and our guidance in Arabic, the Quran is in Arabic, and we don't understand it. And when the Quran calls for us to read the Quran, to understand it, and to follow it, and the main purpose of the Quran is to guide the mankind, and we are lacking over there. We do not understand, and then I did not even make attempts till I was maybe 45 years old. I did not even make attempts to read the translations of the Quran and the exegeses, the commentaries, and follow it. Yes, if you're reading the translations or the exegeses, someone else's mind isn't there. But still, these are scholars. I mean, and they have given their entire life studying the Quran, and but we don't do that. We do not do that, and that is our first mistake. That is our first mistake, that we don't read. We don't read our book, our source of guidance, and when we have the belief in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, when we have belief in our Prophet, that is our faith, then that is our source of guidance. And when Allah completed the religion or the source of guidance he had promised to Adam when Adam was sent to the earth. Now, having reviewed, like Sister Farah said, that I even joined. Currently, I'm doing my master's in Quranic studies, and I try to read translations and commentaries, and just not translations, because translations are giving you the literal meaning, and I go and think about what the big scholars, what they have commented on the verses of the Quran. So I was, while reviewing the Quran, Surah Anam, I was so being an engineer, being a scientist, I was amazed when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala was offering tremendous potential to mankind, that he says in the 95th through the 99th verse of Surah Anam, that he's giving the grains and fruit, he's creating people to live, and then he's going to take them back to the dead. He creates the dawn so that the night is for the rest and the day to work. He creates the sun and the moon, which are used to do calculations for the days, nights, months, years, etc. He created the stars to guide people through the seas and through lands. And then he sends water, which is a major source apart from drinking, for growth, for plants, for vegetation. And he's describing the biology of the palm trees or the date trees or grapes or olives. But he put three caveats in that section of Surah Anam. And he said, this is for people who have knowledge, and this is for people of understanding, and this is for people who believe in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And like I said, that here in this audience, alhamdulillah, everybody is a believer in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and we all recognize that he is our creator and he is our sustainer, and we believe in his unity. Now, about people of knowledge, the Prophet had said that be surrounded by people of knowledge. And this may be a weak hadith, but I probably believe in that the Prophet had said that even if you have to travel to China to seek knowledge, go. And the Prophet was not talking about knowledge of Islam, because the knowledge of Islam was abandoned in Medina. There was so much of knowledge in Medina. The Prophet didn't have to ask the Muslims to go to China and seek knowledge over there. And at that time, the distance between Medina and China was not a 6 to 7 hours flight. You have taken months, years to go over there. But the Prophet had asked the Muslims to do that, and his very frequent prayer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala was, "Oh Allah, show me the unseen." That means the Prophet always sought knowledge. And the Quran itself, it has the word knowledge and its roots used 857 times. So look at the importance Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is giving to knowledge. And that's why in the surah he says, people of knowledge. He's addressing us as people of knowledge. And then coming to the second caveat of Surah Anam, or rather the third caveat of Surah Anam, it is addressing the people of understanding. The phrase people of understanding has been used several times in the Quran, and men of intellect. And by here, men is not man, the masculine, men is humanity, men of intellect. Allah is using that term several times. And now we have Quran on PDFs, and we can easily search for words. But this is my research, going through verse by verse and trying to get keywords. It is not a search, a database search. It is going through every verse by verse to count the keywords, and then like I found that reflect in Dr. Nasser's translation, reflect has been used 44 times, think 183 times, rationalize once, realize 99 times, intellect 25 times it has been used in the Quran. So see the importance of knowledge and the importance of intellect. And I personally believe that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has granted everyone an average intelligence. Now it is left up to us to enhance our intellectual power. And if my company is a bunch of fools, my intellectual level will be low. But if my company is good, knowledgeable people, then my intellectual level is going to enhance. So always stay among people of knowledge and people of intellect. And remember, in this, the cools of these millennium are actually flunkies, and the nerds will be the bosses in the future. Now, coming to another very important topic of the Quran, which relates to our progress, is parents. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given a lot of importance to parents, and parents are mentioned in 7 verses. Now, only 3 people, Adam and Eve without both parents, and Jesus without a father, were created. Otherwise, we do not know anyone in history who were created without parents. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala could have said be, and everybody would have been created. But look at the importance of parents. Now, even if the parents are non-believers, they cannot be disobeyed, except for religious matters, except for Islamic matters. And the verse says you can't even say an off to the parents to show your dismay against the parents. I agree some parents are bad, but most of the parents, they work hard for the children. They try to provide the best according to their abilities, and they have this aim, the goal for their progenies to grow. They want their children to be better than them. And it is not only when you're respecting your parents, when you're obeying your parents, it is not only that you're gaining in this world, you're gaining for the next world also. For example, let me tell you again one flaw of mine. My father, very educated person, and he had a PhD in chemical engineering, and Papa wanted me to go to the IITs. He wanted me to work hard. But at that time, I was among my friends, and I never gave much importance. And later on, I realized in my life that how true he was, and I felt that I had the potential to go to the IITs, the famous engineering Indian Institute of Technology. I could have gone there if I had been completely obedient to my father. So all the young people sitting in your audience, please always remember, your parents want the best for you, the best for you. And the experience they have, and the difference in experience between my father and me can never be eliminated. Allah bless his soul. But in the last 25-30 years, I used to call Papa for any small issue I had, and I used to gain his wisdom, which I never attempted to do that when I was younger. Now, the next issue is, please understand that the Prophet introduced Islam as a ummah-based religion. Ummah means a community with a common goal. You prosper means the Islamic community is prospering. Remember, the political and social welfare of Ummah is sacramental to Islam. If the Ummah prosper, it only implies that Islam is being truly followed. It is gaining respect in the world community. And if your contribution to the globalized community is significant, then no Donald Trump will ban Muslims from coming to the United States. Then no Palestinian property will be seized. Then no Muslim in India, a Muslim youth, will be slaughtered for having drank water in a temple, or will be slaughtered for carrying meat with him. And there won't be any Danish cartoonist trying to make fun of our holy prophet, or there wouldn't be any Salman Rushdie authoring satanic verses, or there wouldn't be any Nupur Sharma recently who would be disrespecting the Quran and the Holy Prophet. So make your community strong by working hard, by contributing at the highest level to the world community, so that you get the golden age of Islam back, so that the world respects the Muslim as constructive people. I mean, and look at this, look at the recent history. Look at Second World War. The Jews were decimated and Japan was completely destroyed. And how strongly they came back with their perseverance. How strongly the Jews and the Japanese have come back with their perseverance. And we live in a globalized world, and it's not that the Muslims are separate, and we are all living in a globalized world, and we have about, I think, 5 million, more than 5 million Muslims living in the United States, and about 10 million Muslims living in Europe. So it's a globalized world, and pluralism is very important. Tolerance and good faith with people of other religion has been preached by our prophet. And let me give you an example. A group of Christians from Najran had come to Medina to the prophet for a debate, and after a long session of debate, they requested the prophet for a recess, and they wanted to go outside Medina. So the prophet asked them, why do you want to go outside Medina? So they said they wanted to pray according to their rituals, and the prophet insisted that they perform their prayers right at his place, the second holiest place for us, Medina. And look at the pluralism the prophet practiced. And we need to, if we are the followers of the prophet, and we are the true followers of prophet, we need to emulate him. Just not, I love my prophet and I love my prophet. Those are empty statements. My next point, I'm coming to the end, is time. Time is probably the most important commodity Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given us. It is the most important community. I may have $5 million or $10 million today, and I will lose it, and I may regain it. But the lost time, the time which I have lost, is it just cannot be regained. And use your time very, very wisely, because that is the most important commodity you have. The father of the nation of my country of origin, Mahatma Gandhi, had said, do not procrastinate. Don't procrastinate over things. What you need to do tomorrow, do it today. And what you need to do today, do it now. And that way, you use your time very efficiently. I think I should conclude now, and then just in summary, please get back to your basics. Get back to your basics. Quran is your basic, and get back to it. And be obedient to your parents. Gain from their experience. Stay away from flunkies. People. Be among people, the knowledgeable people who use their time wisely, and have good intentions, and just not intentions for yourself. Have intentions for the community, for your Muslim ummah. Be focused, work very hard, and please do not go after shallow things like money, fame, power. Go after excellence. Everything will follow you, and that way we will create a strong community. Thank you very much. Assalamu alaikum.
Thank you so much, Brother Ashraf. You gave us a lot of things to think about. You talked about